So here I am with my late 2011 MacBook Pro, running the most recent version of Mac OS 10.11.1 El Capitan. I never have any problems with this computer. It's a to me, one of the best laptops ever made, especially with the upgrades I've made in memory, and I've given it an SSD, so even though it's a 4-year-old computer now, it can run right up there with the newest computers that come out today. But for the first time ever, I've been having a problem with my Wi-Fi today. So earlier today, I was using the internet like I always do. Everything was working fine when all of a sudden I was actually on Facebook at the time going through my news feed and it stopped loading. So I thought I just came disconnected from the internet. Now when I went over here to the Wi-Fi indicator, you can see now it's empty, like it's off, but it was showing on. Like I said, my news feed wasn't loading, but the Wi-Fi indicator was full, so it was showing that it was connected. But then when it's full and connected, when you click on it in the drop down, of course it's off right now, but when it's on in the drop down, you should see, it should show you the list of networks in range, and it should have highlighted and a check mark next to the one that you're connected to. But it did not show that, which is strange because usually when it shows the bar is full and you're connected, it always shows that. And anyway, I thought that was weird and nothing was loading, so I just decided to turn the Wi-Fi off. And then I was going to turn it right back on, but then when I go to do it, much like it's doing right now, when you click on Wi-Fi turn on, absolutely nothing happens. And same thing if I go in the settings. Nothing. And I even went to command line here, trying the network setup command, set airport power either on or off, and I set it to on, and nothing happens. Now it's been working since then. This is like the third or fourth time it's stopped working. I'll restart the computer. Sometimes that does it, sometimes that doesn't do it. Sometimes restarting the computer and resetting the SMC, that'll get it to work. And I had it working here for almost about an hour. I was watching YouTube videos, streaming some music, going to different websites, and then it stopped working again. So it seems like it'll work for a while, but then it always stops working. And when it stops working, it'll still show the Wi-Fi bar is all filled up like I'm connected. But then once again, when I go to click on the drop down, it'll have that unusual scenario where it's not showing the one that I'm connected to with the checkbox next to it. That section of this little drop down is missing. And like I said, when it's on, that section should be there where it shows all your available networks, but I'm not seeing that. And in the latest time when I tried that and I tried to turn it off, it wouldn't even turn off. Like I click off and it still shows the bar's full. And then I used the terminal command line, set airport power to turn it off, and that actually did turn it off and show the Wi-Fi bars empty. But then when I tried to set it back on, it won't go on. So at best I can get it to turn off if it's stuck on, but not really working. It's just showing that it's on, but it won't go back on. And I tried clicking the minus, removing the Wi-Fi network, starting a new one. I tried disabling the service, making it active, and starting it up again. And like I said, several restarts, several attempts to reset the SMC, PRAM, and I just can't get it working. Very bizarre. This has never happened before. So the bottom line here, what do I think's wrong with it? Well, there's always the possibility of there being a problem with the actual network card. And this model of MacBook, the unibody late 2011 MacBook, is one of the last to actually feature a removable and replaceable network card. So if the network card was dead in this, I actually could buy a new one and just replace that. It's not soldered onto the motherboard. But I highly doubt it's the actual network card for a couple reasons. First of all, I've spent a lot of time working with computers, both at work and for leisure. I've never seen one where a network card went bad, at least in a laptop. I've, a lot of problems with Wi-Fi I've seen, but almost 100% of the time, those problems are software based. And that's what I'm thinking here. I've never seen a MacBook with a bad. I've actually never seen any laptop, like I said, having a bad network card, and we had to tell the user to go buy a new network card. That like never happens. I'm not saying it can happen, but it's just not very common to happen. And another thing that makes me think it's software based is I actually loaded onto this a live Linux boot CD. I have Puppy Linux on here, and I loaded that up, and I ran it from the CD, and I connected to Wi-Fi fine in Puppy Linux, and I actually just opened up a browser and I went to a radio station website and just streamed radio for about an hour. And in that time, there were no interruptions at all. It never came disconnected. Now, like I said, it could be that I just didn't give it enough time, because I thought that it was miraculously working again in Mac OS, because I went about an hour of using it and it didn't happen. But sure enough, eventually it happened where, yeah, like I said, it'll show the bar is full, like you're still connected, but then when you go to look at the list where it should show you your available networks and the one that you're connected to with a check mark by, that's gone. And then I try to turn it off and it's like stuck on, even though it's not working. The web pages are loaded, it's showing that it's on, but then I use the command to actually turn it off, so it actually looks like the system recognizes that it's off now. But the problem now is it just won't turn on no matter what I do, regardless of if I use command line or just pressing the button here. So yeah, I definitely think that it's a software problem. I've not seen this one yet in El Capitan. I've heard of people having some strange problems with El Capitan, definitely, but this Wi-Fi problem wasn't one of them. So I might have discovered a new issue, which is strange because there weren't any recent releases or updates. It just stopped working out of the blue because I've had that 10.11.1 update. That 0.1 update's been on for probably almost a month now, and I've been using it. And if it was going to cause a problem, it would have caused a problem, back then when I first downloaded it. And I didn't really install anything new software-wise or put in any new hardware or make any major changes or configurations that would make anything run differently. But sure enough, out of the blue, the Wi-Fi just stopped working. It's just really messed up. It seems to be a miscommunication between that Wi-Fi card and the OS. So yeah, my computer is not going to be very useful as it is right now. So I think the thing that I'm going to have to do that should fix it would be just to reinstall Mac OS. And that's not too big of a deal. I have my Mac OS bootable installation flash drive that I use. That I tell you, this flash drive gets around. I stick this thing in several computers a week. With the work I do in IT, yeah, you would not believe how much I have to reinstall Mac OS. But the good thing about reinstalling Mac OS is it's one of the probably the most painless reinstallation of any operating system. Windows isn't bad, but you got to deal with product keys, and there's 1,000 different versions. Pro, Home Premium. It just gets to be a headache. But Mac OS is pretty easy. No product keys. If it works, it works. That's basically all it is. So I think that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to try reinstalling El Capitan on here, and hopefully that should definitely fix the problem. If not, I'm completely stumped as to what it is, but I think that'll fix the problem. And I'm actually going to try not a clean install, but just to reinstall the operating system, so that way all my files and settings will stay in place. Because I do have everything backed up, but it would still be annoying. Even if I restore from the time machine backup, first of all, that'll take a very long time because I have almost 500 gigs worth of data on here. And then I have to deal with just the fact that I have a lot of virtual machines on here too, and sometimes those get weird when you restore them from a backup. Like the virtual machines, the operating systems inside of those will lose their product keys and you have to re-enter them, and then they say that they were already used because you used them before you had to restore the computer. So that can be a little bit bothersome. So if I have to, I will do a clean install. That would probably be the best bet, but I just don't feel like doing that right now. I'm just going to try a reinstall, installing over this operating system without deleting anything, without formatting the drive. And I'll see how that goes. Hopefully that should fix my bizarre Wi-Fi problem where it'll be working, then it'll stop working, even though it shows that it's still connected. But when you go to view networks, it won't show you that. And when you go to turn it off, it won't allow you to turn it off unless you turn it off using command line in terminal. But then when you go to turn it back on, it won't work, whether it's in command line or just by pressing the Wi-Fi on button or the button in settings. So yeah, definitely having a Wi-Fi conundrum today. Never experienced this before. Like I said, that's a new thing that maybe is going to be a growing problem with other people using El Capitan, which is nice when you work in IT. So that way, if I see this problem again, I'll know what to do, which unfortunately is reinstalling the operating system, which isn't the most simple thing to do, but well, sometimes doing that is the simplest thing to do, especially in Mac OS. It's not that painful. But like I said, I'll try the reinstall as opposed to the clean install, and hopefully that'll be enough to fix my Wi-Fi woes that I've been having. And once I do that, I'll get back to you and let you know how that went. Okay, so I shut the computer off. I have my Mac OS installer flash drive plugged in there. And now I'll turn it on and hold down the Option key immediately after doing that. That way it can bring me to the boot menu where I can select the boot from the flash drive. I'm holding down Option. Starting up. And there we go. There's the boot menu. Samsung SSD, that's my hard drive where I have Mac OS installed. And I want to boot to that. I actually want to boot to, well, as you can see, I have two choices here because I actually have this drive partitioned in half. One partition for El Capitan and one partition for the previous version of Mac OS, Yosemite. But I'm going to go ahead and use the El Capitan, even though I might be better off using Yosemite for some of the bugs I might be facing in El Capitan, but I'll still give it a go. And by the way, doing that, setting up partitions on the flash drive, or even just making the flash drive into an installer, it's actually a pretty easy process. If you go online, search for Disk Maker X. Disk Maker X. It used to be called Lion Disk Maker. Presumably it was named for macOS Lion back when that was the newest version, but rather than renaming the utility every time a new version of macOS came out, they just have been calling it Disk Maker X lately. But it's a great application. You just download it. All you need for it is a flash drive that's 8 gigs or larger, and a disk image of your desired macOS operating system somewhere on your computer. You just launch that Disk Maker X application, specify the removable disk that you want to make the bootable disk on, and you just, it automatically finds the disk image that you have on your computer of macOS, and you just let it do its thing, and it makes it. So it's pretty simple. So this actually might take a while to load the files. What it's doing right now is just loading the files from the flash drive so I can boot into it. So this might actually usually takes about 10 minutes. So instead of just having the camera sit on a load bar, that's not very fun. I'll just cut the video here and I'll get back to you once it's done. Okay, so I have the macOS installer flash drive loaded up. I already clicked through the accepting all the terms and conditions and whatnot, and now I'm at the point where you're to select which disk you want to install the operating system on. However, one quick observation that I noticed that might not be a very encouraging sign. If you look up here, the little Wi-Fi indicator, now remember, right now we're running off of the installation media. This is not the instance of macOS that is on my hard drive where I'm having the problem. This is something completely different. But look at my little Wi-Fi indicator. It's off. And if I try to turn it on, oh geez, familiar problem. So that is something to ponder. Wow. Yeah, like I said, I was very, very optimistic that this was not a hardware problem, but I don't know. Strange. But I'm going to go ahead and try anyway, and maybe it will work. I'm just going to go ahead and try reinstalling the operating system. I'm going to select Samsung SSD here. It's my disk. And there you go. It'll take about a half hour or so. And hopefully that'll work. Yeah, so the Wi-Fi is not working from the installer either. Really weird. But it worked without a problem in Linux. So, yeah. We'll see how it turns out. I just hope we don't run into any problems with the installation, because the strangest thing about installing macOS, it seems like every once in a while it requires an internet connection in order to get some of its files, which is very strange. Other times I'm able to run it off the installer media and that's it, and it works fine. But other times it yells at me when I don't have an internet connection, and it fails the installation because I couldn't get files. I never understood that myself, what constitutes an installation where it needs the internet and where it doesn't, but let's hope it doesn't need it here because I don't have it. So I'll check back in once this either works or fails. We'll see. Okay, so the installation finished. Computer just restarted, and as you can see, the Wi-Fi is connected for the time being. My email just dinged, so I know it's actually working. I'm getting an email. So basically what I have to do now is just test it and hope that it keeps working. So I'll give you an update on that. Well, guess what? Exactly what I was talking about. All the bars are filled, but it doesn't show my networks. I can't load any pages. It says Wi-Fi is off, even though it clearly looks on up there. So reinstalling the OS did not fix the problem. Could try a fresh install, but this might actually be a hardware problem. The latest development. It dead. Okay, so the latest development in this Wi-Fi problem. So, since last time, you saw it was showing that the new devices were installed. And at that point I thought for sure that it was a hardware problem. However, I went to boot from my live CD and it connected with Wi-Fi fine from there. But I was still very convinced that it's a hardware problem. So I actually ran hardware tests all night long on this. And of all things, it did return an error, and that had to do with the memory. So according to this, it's possible memory failure, but I don't believe that at all, because, I mean, Wi-Fi and memory have nothing to do with each other. That's not something that would happen if you have memory failure. I know what memory failure looks like, and this computer has no symptoms other than just the Wi-Fi problem. So I don't know why it said it was memory, but I don't know. Just a fluke or something. But just to make sure, at work I actually swapped out the memory that was in this computer, put in completely new memory, turned it on, and I still had the Wi-Fi problem. So it can't be the memory. So if the memory is bad for some reason, even though it's only like 6 months old, I just upgrade the memory in this. There's no way it's bad. Even if it were, it's not the thing causing the Wi-Fi problem. So anyway, I put my own memory back in. But what I did to kind of once and for all prove, okay, is this hardware or software? Because it's kind of driving me crazy. I think it's hardware for sure at one point, and then at another point, well, it's software for sure. Now it's... Well, one thing that happened that kind of made me think that it is hardware, as I actually started getting kernel panic errors. That's the Mac OS equivalent of the blue screen of death. And inside of the error code, I got a couple of them. Inside one of them, it said something about airport. It referred to the airport card in some way, com.apple.airport or whatever it was. So that really makes me think there is a hardware problem. And sort of as the definite way to prove that, I took my SSD that I had Mac OS installed on. I took it out. Took it out of this computer. I put in a spare hard drive, installed a clean copy of Mac OS on it. It just finished installing, and now, like when I went through the setup prompts, the one step is to choose your network. Wi-Fi was grayed out. Okay. I have it connected with Ethernet right now, and that works, but Wi-Fi was grayed out. And as you can see, it doesn't even show up here. There's no Wi-Fi indicator at all. If I go into system preferences, and if I go to network, Wi-Fi is in here. And even if I go to add one, Wi-Fi is not an option. And then if I go to system report, that's essentially the Mac OS equivalent of device manager. Go down to Wi-Fi. There's no information. It's all just general, like it's telling you like the software it has installed for it, but there's no actual hardware there. So it's not even recognizing the fact that there is a wireless card in here. So I'm 99.99999% sure that my original assumption way back when was true, that yeah, my airport card is bad. And that would mean I just have to pick up a new one of those. Luckily, this model of Mac, they are replaceable. And looks like I can replace it pretty easily at that. I see some used ones on eBay for about $25. I'll probably pick up one of those. And if that doesn't fix the problem, God forbid, I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you what else it could be. Maybe, I guess at that point I would actually try putting new RAM in, but I mean, there's no way it's the RAM that's bad. Like, I would, if it's the RAM that's bad, then I'm Santa Claus, because RAM has nothing to do with that, and it's causing no other symptoms. So yeah, it definitely looks like it is. I want to try as one last try. Maybe this time when I boot from the Live Linux CD, Linux won't recognize the Wi-Fi network. And if it does, I'm just gonna want to scream, because then that just puts a huge hole in my logic. Is if the wireless card's broken, no operating system should be able to see it, whether it's Mac or Linux. But definitely Mac isn't able to see it, and that's what I want to run on my computer, is Mac OS. So yeah, I might do that. Try one more time to boot from this Live Linux CD, and I swear if it works on Wi-Fi, I don't know what to say. I'm probably still gonna have to buy even if it does, I'd still buy a new airport card. Yeah, so I'll try that, and we'll go from there. We'll see what happens. So here I am in Slacko Puppy, my Linux Live CD. And would you look at that, down at the network indicator, got a red X, it says active interface is none. Okay, so let's try this. Let's try to set one up. The only choice I have is wired. Before, when I did this, it was showing, it's ETH0, it was showing ETH1, and it said wireless. My only choice is wired. That's not going to work because it's looking for an Ethernet connection and I haven't unplugged yet. So it is not seeing the wireless card anymore. And that's actually, I mean, that's the last bit of information I needed. Now, 2 different operating systems attempting to run on this machine. Neither of them are able to take advantage of the wireless card. That would tell us that our wireless card is officially broken. Honestly, I've never been so happy to say that something was broken. Because, I mean, for this to work and for macOS not to work would make absolutely no sense. So finally, I think it caught up to itself. I think it was on its last legs. My airport card, it was working intermittently, and it would work just enough for it to work on Linux. But I guess by the time I went to macOS, it didn't work. But it looks like it gave up the fight, and it's completely dead now. So, that I even though this actually costs me money because I have to buy a new one, I'd rather pay the whatever $25-$30 it is for it than have to mess around with reinstalling the operating system if it was a software problem. Because I have so much crap, so many like virtual machines and stuff installed on my computer. I mean, to wipe the hard drive and to then recover it all from my time machine backup, that would take forever. I'd be down and out for hours upon hours, and that would just be a stressful thing. Honestly, to just swap out a part and for that to be what I have to do, should be good. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead on eBay, order that airport card, and that should be good. One thing that is a bit strange, the airport card in these Macs, they have built into that card Wi-Fi and Bluetooth as well. So you would think if that card was dead, the Bluetooth wouldn't work either. But as you can see, Bluetooth's on, and the indicator is showing up. So Bluetooth works, even though Wi-Fi doesn't, even though both are located on the same card, which seems really unlikely. But I'm not going to question it anymore at this point. I don't know. It is possible just the Wi-Fi module on that card broke and the Bluetooth one is still good. That's a possibility. So, yeah, I mean, but the next practical thing to try is just to buy the new airport card. I mean, even though Bluetooth is working, I mean, it's the only logical next step I can take, really. I mean, you saw how it wasn't working in Linux either, so obviously there's something up. With the kernel panics I was getting, I know there's a hardware problem. Like I said, the kernel panic on a Mac, those error messages, they're equivalent to the BSOD on Windows, and that's usually indicative of hardware failing. And I'm thinking the same here. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and order one of those replacement airport cards off of eBay for about $25, and I'll get back to you later when that is installed and hopefully working. And hopefully I can put this whole thing behind me. But yep, strange that Bluetooth works and Wi-Fi doesn't when they're on the same card, and I'm heavily assuming that card is broken. But we'll see. Okay, so I went ahead and I ordered the new airport card from eBay. It just came in this evening. There it is right here, the new airport card to replace this one that's in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this one out, install this new one, and pray that actually fixes my problem with my Wi-Fi. Alright, so I'll see how it goes. Well, guys, that ended up being a very, very painstaking process. But I did put the new Wi-Fi card in. As you can see, here is the old one right here. Now, unfortunately, this is the assembly that came with the new Wi-Fi card. It was actually slightly different from the assembly that was inside of my Mac. So apparently, even though the seller that I bought this from on eBay listed this as a late 2011 Mac 15-inch airport card, that's exactly what my computer is. For some reason, I don't know if some of the, maybe it's a different style of motherboard, but this was a different wireless card assembly, and it would not fit. So I had to use my existing wireless assembly, which isn't a huge deal, but the only problem is I had to also use my old band to connect the Wi-Fi card to the motherboard. I would have liked to use the new band just to rule out, the band being the problem in case that, that was the issue and not the card. But I actually can't, because this band is actually a little bit longer than the band that is in my computer now. And so that wouldn't work. It wouldn't reach the right way on the motherboard. So I'm using a new one of these, a new airport Bluetooth Wi-Fi card. But I had to use my existing assembly. This one did not fit for some reason. And I also had to use my existing band. So hopefully it's not the band that is the problem. But yeah, the cards inside were the same exact one. So this is the old one that was in my computer, and the new one that was in here is now in my computer. And so far so good. I have Wi-Fi. But remember, the problem that I had before was it would sometimes give me Wi-Fi for a while, but it would just be intermittent. It would break after an hour or so. So I'm not going to be confident that this is completely fixed until I can go several hours without losing a Wi-Fi connection. And I'm actually running this, the Wi-Fi monitor. This is a nifty little wireless diagnostic tool built into Mac OS. I'm running this right now, and it'll alert me right here, where it says active since, and it tells me the date and time. It'll alert me once I lose a connection, if I do. So if I lose my wireless connection, I'll know that I still have a problem. But like I said, it's 8:40 right now. I'm willing to say that if I can go to midnight without it ever telling me I lost a connection, then I will be convinced that I fixed the problem. So only time will tell. I have the new wireless card in. Like I said, for some reason, the assembly that holds it in this one I got on eBay is slightly different than the one in my computer for some reason. And the band is longer as well, so I had to use my existing assembly and band, but I did swap out the card. And I'll tell you, in the assembly that is in here, there was one screw holding that in. Oh my god, it was the bane of my existence. I could not get that screw out. I had to actually take a pair of wire cutters and cut off the part of the Wi-Fi assembly that was being held in by the screw. I had to break it off to take the rest of my Wi-Fi assembly out to be able to put the new card in. That was ridiculous. I even tried these screw extractors. I tried a drill. I could not, for the life of me, get that stripped screw out. Luckily, it had one other screw to hold it in. It's kind of loose right now, but hey, it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, it's held into place by the band on the motherboard and the little wires that go to these contacts here to connect the antennas. So yeah, that was hell. That was hell getting my old Wi-Fi assembly out, which for some reason was different than the one that I was given. I don't know. But hey, the new card is in. That's the important part. Hopefully, this doesn't give me any errors, and hopefully I maintain connectivity. That would be great. Just in case this didn't work, I got one of these in case I'm absolutely desperate. However, I would hate to have to use a USB Wi-Fi dongle. That's just a really, that's a really, that's a workaround. It's not a fix. And I don't like, I can't rest easy knowing that there's a broken part inside of my computer. I want it to be fixed. I want it to be fixed the right way. and this would just be a crappy workaround. But if it came to it, I would really have no choice other than, if it's not the card, and it's the motherboard, that would essentially mean I'd have to buy a new MacBook, and I really don't feel like doing that right now at all, because I really love this computer. It's a great computer, minus this Wi-Fi issue that came out of nowhere. But yeah, so far so good. Hopefully everything goes well with the wireless monitor, and it never reports a connection loss. And like I said, I'll test it over the next few hours, and obviously and if it passes that test, then just by using it, if I can go a week of using this computer normally on Wi-Fi and I don't have any more issues, I'll be pretty darn convinced that I fixed the problem by replacing the airport card. But, and the thing that stinks is if I do have more issues, then I'll have to wonder, well, what if it is the band? What if it is the band? And that's why it stinks, because this is the new band from the one I ordered on eBay, but I can't use it in my computer because this is longer. It's not the same exact thing for some reason. I don't know why it's slightly different. I debated contacting the seller and say, hey, this doesn't quite work with my computer. You sent me the wrong thing, but I didn't feel like that was well justified, because really what I was ordering was the card, and not the assembly that it came in. So yeah, this card, the one that I put in here that was from eBay, is exactly like this. So yeah. But we'll see. Hopefully I have no more issues, and this Wi-Fi problem is a thing of the past. So I'll check back in and let you know how this goes after running it for a while, and whether or not I can say that I've definitively fixed the problem. All right. Okay, so where we left off at the last part of this video, I was showing you that I had Wi-Fi, and that I was pretty darn confident that I had fixed the problem by putting in the new Wi-Fi card. And I said I was going to go ahead and run the Wi-Fi monitor to make sure I didn't lose a connection anymore. And then if that passed, I would be convinced that my Wi-Fi problem was fixed. Well, I went ahead and ran that monitor for I don't know, something like 8 hours. And it didn't come disconnected once in that whole time. So I thought for sure, yeah, my problem's definitely fixed. So I plan to just go ahead and start using my computer again as I normally would. And I shut it off a couple of times and turned it back on just to make sure. And then I decided, okay, just to be safe, one more time, I'm going to turn it off and turn it back on, just to make sure I still have Wi-Fi. And lo and behold, in that one extra time that I decided to try to test to see if I would still have Wi-Fi, I didn't have Wi-Fi. I was back to no hardware installed. And I was like, are you kidding me? So same problem again, the new Wi-Fi card didn't fix it. At that point, I was completely convinced that it must be a problem with my logic board. Although I didn't want to believe that, because the resistor on the board, I looked at all the resistors that would have to do with Wi-Fi, and none of them appeared to be blown. The other potential issue would be right inside of the plastic hinge here that attaches the screen to the body of the computer. There is the actual antenna mechanism and all the wiring, and I thought maybe there's a chance that went bad, but that's very unlikely. So anyway, yeah, I thought I was pretty much at an impasse, and I figured, okay, I'll just have to start using a USB Wi-Fi dongle, and I showed you one in the last video that I had. But as I soon found out, that absolutely did not work on this computer. And I returned it and bought another one, returned that one and bought another one, returned that one and bought another. I was through about 5 of those things. There is no USB Wi-Fi adapter on the face of the planet right now that works with Mac OS 10.11.1 El Capitan. So in case you were wondering, as of the day of this video, there is absolutely no Wi-Fi adapter that will work with Mac OS El Capitan. So if your internal Wi-Fi isn't working, you're pretty much screwed. It's either you don't have internet or you use Ethernet, because none of the companies will release software that's compatible And the funny thing is, these Wi-Fi adapters, I mean, you go on Amazon, there's a bunch of different ones to choose from. But, they're all sold under different names. But their web pages where the drivers are, all, most of them all end up bringing you to the same driver page. And it's all the same incompatible driver that won't work, regardless of which physical adapter you actually buy. Because they must all use the same chipset inside. So it all uses the same driver, but that driver doesn't work. So yeah, that wasn't going to work. So out of one last move of desperation, I ordered another airport card from eBay. Now remember, the first one I told you wasn't quite right. It wasn't quite the same as the one in here, and I said it didn't really fit, and I couldn't. And remember, I said the one thing that concerned me is I couldn't use the new ribbon that it came with to attach it to the logic board. I had to use my existing one. And I said that that could actually cause some uncertainty because it could possibly be the cable that's bad, but I thought that, it's a very low chance that it's actually the cable that's bad. Well, guess what? I got that completely new and different airport Bluetooth card, and I installed it. And this one was the exact one that originally came with this MacBook. So I was able to use the entire housing that it came with. I was able to install that entire thing, and I was able to use the new ribbon instead of the old ribbon, which is right here. So inside of this computer right now is a brand new, well, new to me, at least working, airport wireless card, including its own ribbon connecting it to the logic board, not the one that I had originally. And guess what? Since I did that, it has been almost a week and my Wi-Fi has yet to fail. As you can see, I'm connected right now and I'm able to load all kind of web pages. Yeah, so I've been using this as I normally would for about 4 days, not quite a week. But yeah, I mean, I've turned it off and on several times. I've shut the lid, put it to sleep several times. I've carried it back and forth places, where I would have jostled it around and shaken things up, and that didn't cause any problems. So I, knock on wood, as sure as I was that I fixed the problem last time, and then out of nowhere it came back, and I was like, are you kidding me? But, I think I'm pretty confident now that I really did finally solve this long, arduous case of why the hell my Wi-Fi isn't working in my MacBook Pro. And it's been really, really annoying to deal with, but I think I finally got it where the culprit was indeed a faulty ribbon connector connecting the actual airport card to the logic board. And it does not seem that it was, the card at all to begin with, nor is it actually a part on my logic board or the antenna in the hinge. It seems like all along it was this stupid little ribbon connector. And just in case you're skeptical, you might be thinking, oh, come on, those things never go bad. What's the chances that it'd actually be that? Well, I would think the same thing too. However, I've seen several cases of MacBooks where the ribbon connector connecting the hard drive to the logic board has gone bad. I've been in those situations where you're almost sure that it's a dead hard drive, and you're telling people, oh yeah, you might have to look about getting a new hard drive. That's probably what the problem is. But then I stop myself and think, oh wait, let me try one thing, and I grab a ribbon connector that I know that's working and try it with the original hard drive, and it works. And I'm like, oh no, it's not your hard drive. So you just have to go on Amazon and buy a $20 cable and call it a day. For whatever reason, these little ribbon connectors in Macs and these MacBooks tend to fail way more than they should. So yeah, that is a known issue. So if first of all, if it is your hard drive that's not being read, if you're getting the little question mark when you're starting your computer up, before you assume that it's a dead hard drive, either try that hard drive in a different Mac or borrow a ribbon connector from a different Mac to connect the hard drive to your logic board and test to make sure that it's not just the ribbon. And same thing with the Wi-Fi now. I've discovered that if you're having an issue where either the Wi-Fi is saying hardware not installed or it's just acting strangely, the problem I was having is I would open this menu. It would say Wi-Fi on, Wi-Fi on, turn Wi-Fi off, and it would have all this. But see this center section here where all the names of the networks are? That would be missing. That center section would go away. I would not see that. And it would claim to be on, but when I tried to go to a web page, nothing would load. And then when I tried to turn Wi-Fi off, it wouldn't turn off, and then it would sometimes cause kernel panics and all kind of gross stuff until it eventually said no hardware installed, and then it would intermittently be back on, then off, then on, then off, and it drove me crazy to a point where I thought I'd just have to buy a new freaking MacBook. But it does finally seem that, yes, once again, the culprit is this stupid ribbon connector. So anyway, thanks for watching. Once again, if I have Wi-Fi problems again, first of all, I'll probably cry. Second of all, I'll update the video and let you know. Okay, so I'll see you later.